Introduction, Justification. In my proposal for the first project, I included questions about the nature of mourning. Some of them are, why do we bother to mourn if it doesn't undo what happened or what didn't happen? What do we do in preemptive mourning? And what does it mean to mourn without our consent? Along with the class, I took Dr. Winrock's class where we discussed Barse, and we said that grief is the internal feeling and mourning is external. With that externality of mourning in mind, I wanted to pose another question. What does mourning sound like? It was Jana who suggested a mixtape to me, and I became obsessed with the idea. The mixtape exists in two forms. It is stored digitally in my laptop and physically on a flash drive. We've talked a lot in the class about bodies, and so I wanted there to be a physical record. Anyone who is curious can ask me for either, and I will provide it to them. The mixtape also serves as an annotated playlist. Each of the tracks on the mixtape will have an audio file of me explaining why it appeared on the playlist. You can listen to the mixtape in two ways. Listen to all the tracks in order and then the explanations, or alternate between track and explanation. These explanations will attempt to center on themes from our class, from Ross and Amy, but will draw on Barse and myself anecdotally. Importantly about the playlist is that it isn't curated. Returning to Dr. Winrock's class, we talk a lot about curation and performing the self for ourselves. More will be included in the explanations, but I've talked about sanitizing the mourning process, and I didn't want to do that. There are 15 tracks on the playlist. There could have been 50, but I added the first things that came to mind. The playlist contains songs, readings of poems, scenes from movies, and even some of my own work. In my own work, in the MP1, I called mourning having skin in the game, and so in this way I want to put my own skin in the game and include moments of my own mourning. Before we enter the playlist, I want to use this section to give thanks to Ant, who mentioned the invitation Ross offers in Catalog of Unabashed Gratitude that I hope here to extend about mourning, to Jana, who suggested the mixtape, to Dr. Winrock, and to Jane for letting this be the form of the project. And finally, every poem I wrote in this class has been about the same girl. And while I would never say this to her, I hope that she knows and is thankful that she made me a poet.